Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Evermore, your Newcastle United podcast on the Slide Road Pass YouTube channel. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined in the Geordie jungle by some real big cats that even Kurt Zuma wouldn't kick. It's the lads. I've got James Lynch, I've got Adam Beckett, and Dai Reese, who's just squeaked in time. How you doing, boys?
Great.
Good, mate. How are you?
Very well. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Very good. Apart from the weather, I don't know what the weather's like your neck of the woods, Dai, but it's pissing it down here in Newcastle.
Miserable here, to be fair.
Oh, bloody hell. Well, you've had a bit of a miserable week, Dai. How are you coping, mate? You had the dreaded vid, didn't you, mate? How are you getting on now?
I did. It's not been an ideal week, if I'm honest. I did my pre-travel test because I was supposed to be going to the West Ham game. First game I would have gone to in a long time, as we discussed last time. And I even did it in work. I was just like, right, I'm just going to do this quick and get it out of the way. And I did it. Someone came into my office, had a quick conversation, and I totally forgot I'd done it. And I turned around, kind of like started tapping around my laptop and looked to the right, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Bastard.
Bastard, exactly. So weekend.
You've had the worst luck, haven't you, this season, Dai, with going to games.
I know.
Man,
I think it's a good job I didn't go. We would have lost the game if I'd have gone, I'm sure. So,
I was just going to say, mate, yeah, the fact that we actually managed to grab a draw maybe it was a blessing in disguise. You couldn't go, mate, but I'm pretty sure you will eventually make it to a game. God bless you, mate. God bless you.
One day.
We better get a good result when you do as well. But it's a lovely segue to jump straight into this, guys. So the Hammers review obviously was an unbelievable point really against the Champions League chasing side. Or the cat kickers, as we otherwise call them. Adam, coming to you first, mate. Was it a result you were expecting, mate, or were you quite surprised with how well the lads coped?
Well, I was really happy, obviously, with how well we played across the whole field. Really, everyone performed very competently, which is not my phrase. I've heard that used this week by other people as well, but they're absolutely spot on. I mean, going into the game, I actually felt pretty good about a Newcastle game, which is sort of a rare feeling that I'm still frankly getting used to, and long may it continue. West Ham's form has been up and down. They've struggled against sides at our end of the table, both home and away. So I felt pretty good going into it. Of course, when I awoke to the news that ASM wasn't playing, you sort of added him to the list of injuries. I was like, oh, that's really difficult. But even with Jacob Murphy as the backfill, for some reason I sort of felt okay about that as well, which just tells you tells you how far we've come. I mean, the game itself, I thought we started excellent. Joelinton could absolutely have scored within 2 or 3 minutes. I felt like we looked good on the ball. I thought we controlled possession when we had it. I don't think we looked panicked at the back, which 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, it looked like as soon as the ball went backwards, something was going to go wrong. The only problem I had with the performance and the lineup, although almost unavoidable, was Emil Kraft playing right back. I feel a bit sorry because he looks like a good lad, seems like a good lad. I know he's a real trier, but he's just not meant to be on a Premier League football pitch. And you sort of knew that their best chance of scoring was going to come down that side. Ryan Fraser put in a good shift sort of covering, but Emil Kraft is just incredibly vulnerable, and he's slow and he turns poorly. He's just not good as a right back. He's probably best suited as the right of 3 centre backs, where you've got a wing back kind of automatically covering him. But he gives away that free kick. It was just a sort of stupid push on a player running by him. And he was also sort of at blame for not cutting that ball out at the front post as well. So other than that, though, just delighted with the way we played. And I think, again, I've made this point a little bit before on here, but it didn't bother me that we went a goal down. So same as it did against Everton. You could tell the players weren't concerned by it. You could tell the players understood what Eddie and Jason Tindall wanted them to do to get back into the game. And we absolutely deserved our goal. And in the second half, just to wrap up, only one team were going to win that. It wasn't a great second half. It was pretty boring, but only one team looked like they were going to win that, and it looked like it was going to be us. And I'll take that absolutely every time.
It just goes to show you how far we've come, doesn't it, Reed Adam, when you're not worried about Jacob Murphy for ASM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And kudos on the best summary of Emil Kraft I've ever heard. He's just not that good. That's a brilliant bit of punditry, mate. I think you get a job with Sky at that, mate. So we've got some comments in YouTube tonight. Yeah, we're live, guys. Just feel free to dive in the comments. James, that's one of your mates, I think. Your favourite Somerset Toon fan is here. Nice to have you on board, Mark. Thanks.
Great to have you on, Mark, mate. He's one of the very best, mate. Love you. Good to have you on,
man.
Mark.
Up, man. Just wait for the Bale conversation, Mark. We'll see what you think about that. And we've got Ugly Bear joining. He's a Man United fan. Of course, we don't mind you watching, Ugly Bear. You're a top man. We love having you on board, mate. Thanks for joining in tonight. So, yeah, coming to you, James, on this as well. Obviously, a great draw, really. It's got to be said, hasn't it, mate, against a team that's pushing for the top 4.
It was a fantastic performance, Chris. I was delighted with that point. I actually thought we did enough to win it on the day. I thought West Ham were poor, if I'm honest, but that is a reflection on how well we played. We didn't allow them to get into the game. We didn't allow them to play their usual game. Again, some outstanding individual performances on the day, but mainly we played as a really cohesive unit, especially at the back. I mean, look, Adam's done a very good summary of Kraft there. Kraft aside, look, I thought the back 4 were excellent. Dan Burn and Matty Targett in particular. The midfield 3 putting in their usual work rate, and I thought Willock was man of the match. He was everywhere on Saturday, and more importantly, he was further up the pitch and involved in most, if not every one of our attacks, which was exactly what I was wanting from him on last week's show. And I thought he had, good games against Everton and Villa, but he just stepped it up another level on Saturday. Yeah. And if I'd have been doing ratings or whatever, I would have given him a 10 out of 10 for that game. I thought he was brilliant. He took his goals so well. And I do want to talk about him here because I think it's fair that I do give him some praise because I have been not critical per se, but I have wanted that little bit more from him. But I do want to praise him. And that's one of the best finishes I've seen, to be honest. It's such a tight angle. And I've watched it back around, 10, 11, 12 times now. And I still don't know how he's managed to do that. I mean, if Messi had have done that, my word, I mean, it would have been replayed for years and years and years. I want to give special praise to Joelinton as well. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. His usual command and presence in midfield. He didn't let Declan Rice and Thomas Souček get into the game at all. And more special praise for Ryan Fraser. Another incredible shift on that right-hand side. And I've said this before, but he would run through a brick wall for Eddie Howe right now. I mean, the guy looks like he's about 21 years old again. I've never seen a player as fit as Ryan Fraser right now. I mean, he was everywhere on Saturday. He's as fit as a lop. And so, look, to play like we did without our 3 best players in Trippier, Maximin and Wilson, who are virtually our entire goal threat right now, it's just a testament to what Eddie Howe is doing with this team and the belief he's instilling into these players. And we are coming up against any opposition now, whether it be Man City, whether it be West Ham, whoever it be. I genuinely think we've got a chance of winning every game right now until the end of the season. It's a brilliant time.
Sorry, Jim. Finish up, mate. Sorry.
No, I'm just about to say in summary, it's a brilliant time to be a Newcastle fan, and I can just see us climbing further and further up that table right now.
Absolutely. Well, just before I bring Dai in, just when you're talking about Joe Willock and Joelinton, or 2 of the 3 J's, as I like to know them as now, with John Joe in the mix. But just bringing up some of the stats that Mark pulled up there. It's interesting you say about Willock, and I know you and Dai had a good debate about this last week, but you can see there the difference. I think was it last week we had the 100% stats where he only had 11 passes. You can see there he was involved in 25 passes. He got 84% completion, 51 touches, 5 shots. He's got his goal. And Joelinton, I think, as you rightly said there as well, and Adam did it there as well, 95% passing completion from Joelinton, 43 passes. And he was just absolutely all over the place. So just bringing you in there, Dai, and off the back of those stats as well, mate, do you feel vindicated for your pro Willock testimony last week, mate?
Well, it's nice to be right once in a while. That's the main thing. And obviously, we joked that James had taken some ecstasy last week. I see that is still continuing over, given the.
Look, come on, guys. Look, I'm going to give praise where it's due. The guy was outstanding on Saturday.
No, absolutely, mate. He was outstanding. I thought it was a game that last year, or even at the start of this year, we had those 3 players missing. I thought, well, there you go. That's the end of that. Then we're going to get absolutely sod all from this. I agree with everything everyone said so far. The one player I would single out that hasn't already been mentioned much was Matty Targett. I just thought he brings like a calmness, I feel, to that back four. He can get forward. He doesn't waste the ball. He doesn't kind of, he's not up and down, but he doesn't waste the ball when he has it. He's effective. I thought he looks like he was communicating well. I thought Joelinton absolutely was outstanding. Joe Willock, again, for me, was man of the match. The way he drove us up the pitch, the way he positively impacted the game in almost everything that he did. The one negative for me, you mentioned Kraft, was definitely Jacob Murphy, who, you talk about Emil Kraft not being a Premier League footballer. I don't think Jacob Murphy is. One of my mates texted me during the match and said, "Did we buy the wrong Murphy?" And it's just like, no, the other one's shit as well. I don't really rate him. It's the running inside that does it for me. It just narrows us down so much. So I would say that we won that game in spite of a couple of players, in fact, and I think that makes it drew the game. Sorry, and I think that makes it more impressive. I think the fact that we got back into the game at 1-0 down, I thought was impressive. And like the boy said, I think if anyone was going to win that match in the last 15-20 minutes, it was going to be us. So overall, I'm happy with the point. The only negative I would take away is that it's just such a shame that one of Wilson, Trippier, or ASM weren't playing. Because I think one of those three is probably enough to win us the game. I think having a proper striker there would have helped, because I thought Wood was awful. But I think all in all, I think there's just a lot of positives to take when we would have messed that game up at the start of the season. I agree what Thomas has said there. The heading is a great point. I didn't actually think of that, but that's so true. He was very effective in the air. Just seemed very committed. I really hope we can get him. He's not going to be, if we're going to get him to Champions League one day, I don't think Matty Targett is going to be the person who gets us there. But to move us up the table and do what we want to do and where we want to get next season, let's say, I think he'd be a great signing for us longer term.
Definitely. We're going to come on to Matty Targett a little bit more detail in a minute, but just to pick up a couple of points you said there, Dai, as well, the Joelinton thing as well. I mean, his transformation has been nothing short of incredible. Mark and I earlier on today recorded a special for Evermore, which was basically on Joelinton's transition. Thus was the topic so long, we couldn't just push it in a normal Evermore episode. So that's going to be on the channel tomorrow, guys. So make sure you check that out. It's really interesting that Mark's got a ton of the stats, and it's actually really, really surprising to look at it and see how he sits up against the creme de la creme of the Premier League in the midfield position. But just, I'm with you guys. I totally agree. I think the draw was a great draw. I think we could have won it as well, Adam. I'm with you. I think that had we had more of our talented players on the pitch, as Dai rightly says, I think we probably would have had that 3 points in the bag. I mean, a couple of things you guys didn't mention, I just want to single out. One, Dan Burns' tackle on Jared Bowen was one of the beautiful, just shithouse pub team defending tackles I've ever seen in the Premier League, which was amazing. And if it's true, a big shout out to Chris Wood for meowing at Kurt Zouma and getting the referee to
that wasn't actually true. I mean, I think a lot of people fell for that, didn't they? But it was proven to be just a bit of a wind up, wasn't it? From the
that was about the only good thing Chris Wood did in the game, mate. So now he's shit again. He just ruined that completely for me, right? So sorry,
one thing
Chris,
I want to say quickly on Murphy, Dai, and I think you're a little bit harsh on him because he was played out of position in that match. He's not a natural left winger, and I don't think he's played there many times in his career. But I take your point. He wasn't the best, and he isn't ever going to be number one choice for us. But I thought he did okay in parts. Maybe a little bit too harsh on him, Dai. Just my opinion.
No, that's all right, mate. And to be honest, I am a bit harsh on him because I fundamentally don't think he's anywhere near good enough. So I do think I'm overcritical of him, the consequence of that. But I think the thing for me, and worth pointing out as well, that when the ball came across for their goal, he was marking Dawson. And if you watch that replay back, they showed it a couple of times. I don't know whether it was on the feed in the UK, but on Dutch TV, they really honed in on this and really zoomed in on the fact that he goes with Dawson for about 3 seconds, and you can see him stop and give up. And when everyone else is going toward the ball, he's actually, if you watch that back, he just stands there. Should he have been up against Craig Dawson to mark him? I guess that's a different conversation. But I do think, there's a lot to pick up. But I do get it. I think I am overly harsh on him. One more thing, just very quickly on Chris Wood, because obviously I was supposed to go to the game, couldn't. And I was stuck in the house my wife and I decided to have like a pub day. She, got my Newcastle hat and scarf on and was, pretending she knew what was going on. And she said, "Oh, do you need one more person to come on the pod tonight?" And I was just like, "Well, I'm sure you can pop in." And she said, "If you don't want me to come on, can you at least say that the ugly one up front was shit?" Was her executive analysis. So
God bless him. So not only is he shit now, he's ugly as well. He's having a mare as poor Chris. Yeah, a comment popped up there from Ugly Bear, the Manchester United fan. Adam, do you want to take this one, mate? So you're saying, despite us being the wealthiest club in the world, are you worried that larger clubs may come in for Saint-Maximin? So what do you think about that, mate? Are you concerned, or do you think we're going to have the money now to keep a hold of an asset like him?
Yeah, it doesn't worry me too much. I mean, obviously, if we get relegated, then that's a whole separate conversation. But no, I think as long as we are, clearly trying to move forward, move the club onto the next phase of this journey that we're on, I don't think we need to worry about players like saint-maximin. I mean, you never know. He's a temperamental guy, but he seems really committed to Newcastle. I've not really heard anything big about agents pushing for a move or him not being happy with whatever the facilities, the area, So I don't think it's going to be a problem with saint-maximin unless, of course, we get relegated. That changes everything.
He loves the club so much, he's even training in his full kit, Ugly Bear. So he can't be wanting to go anywhere, mate. If you see the pictures of him on Twitter, he's full kit wanking it all away. So just moving on to the next category then, lads. We've kind of touched on him a little bit already. Matt Targett, I'm glad you brought him up, Dai. I'm absolutely smitten with this kid after 2 games. I think he is the best left back we've had since Jose Enrique. Just before I hand over to you, James, Mark has done one of the slides for Targett's impact on the game. 90 minutes there, 80 touches, 73% pass completion, 12 crosses. 12 crosses from left back is amazing. 2 tackles and 3 key passes. James, how impressive have you been with this lad, and should we sign him permanently?
He is an exceptional fullback, Chris. He's an outstanding defender, first and foremost. And as Dai said before, this is one of the best pieces of business we've done in a long time in terms of the loan deal. This guy can do it all, interceptions, blocks, clearances. He wins his duels, whether it be aerial or ground duels. But he does the simple things so well, which is what you want from a fullback when you're in a relegation battle, which is what we are. He's a no-nonsense defender, defend first and foremost. He doesn't mess about, and he always makes the right decision, which is the most important thing. I mean, how on earth did Villa let this guy go out on loan? I genuinely can't understand this, to be honest with you. I think he's twice the player Luca Dean is, if I'm honest. But I'm a huge fan of his, and I think if we do sign him permanently in the summer, and personally, I would make it the #1 priority. I think him and Trippier could be a formidable partnership in those fullback areas for years to come. And fullbacks arguably are the most important position in modern day football. And if you look at what Liverpool and Man City have done in their squad with theirs, it's incredible. So if we are going to become a top side down the line, then you've got to have quality fullbacks. And I think he can go on to be as good as someone like an Andy Robertson at Liverpool. And look, I wouldn't say he's on the level of him that just yet, or even someone the likes of Trippier. But if he continues to play like he does, then you never know, he might get an England call up. And Luke Shaw's massively out of form. Ben Chilwell is injured at the moment. So why not give him a go? I mean, he's played for the England under 21s in his younger days. So it could happen. But on the whole, he's doing and giving us exactly what Trippier has done for us. He offers equally as much off the ball as he does on the ball. His leadership qualities are there for all to see. He's got that big game experience. He's played at the top level for 5 or 6 years now, and he isn't fazed by a relegation battle. Look, he's only played 2 games for us so far, and we probably do go slightly overboard with praise or with criticism sometimes on these shows. But from what I've seen of him,
fans, really,
yeah. Look, but look, you can only judge someone on what you've seen from them, and base your opinions on what you've seen from them. I've seen this guy in the flesh as well against Everton. He was absolutely brilliant. 2 10 out of 10 performances so far, and he's a class player. Big fan of his, Chris.
Dai, anything to add from your side, mate? I know you just touched on him before.
Yeah. I think briefly, I think I agree with what the lads have said. He is definitely the best left back we've had since Jose Enrique, although I feel like that's the easiest competition to win of all time. My only thing is I would say I do think if we want someone to be like an Andy Robertson type player, as James mentioned there, we want someone to be that dynamic up and down. I don't think he's that person. That would be my only thing. And that's not a criticism of him. I think he's defender first. Unlike Trippier, who can do a bit of both, I think Targett is a defender first. So I think if we do want someone who's going to be up and down and contribute, but I mean, like you say, he did provide, 12 crosses that the stats slide showed there. So he's obviously got that to his game. If we can coach that into him, I think he's a very, very good player. And I think he's a very good fullback defensively, as I say. If we can get that extra going out to him going forward, then I think it becomes a different proposition. But I do wonder if maybe in the summer we let him go back. And, well, I can see one of two things happening. We either let him go back on the basis that we'll go after someone else, I don't know who, or we would keep him and go after someone else as well so that we have some sort of cover at left back. Because you can see, obviously, now that Manquillo is out as well, Trippier is out as well, we're at the point where Kraft is back in the team. And it's those sort of players we never, ever want to see gracing our shirt again. So I do think there's an element of that where I guess it might be sensible to keep him anyway as a plan A and B and kind of bolster the squad. But to answer the question, I think he has been very, very good for us, and I think defensively he's exactly what we needed at the right time.
Yeah, Adam, just to bring you in on there, mate, do you think that potentially not having ASM in front of him at the weekend maybe encourages him to get a few more crosses in the box? Because I think he spent most of his time covering Maxi's arse, hasn't he, when he goes off on a wander?
Yeah, I always feel sorry for our left backs, even our right backs that play left back, when ASM is in front of them. I was a nightmare to play with from a defensive standpoint as well. I never did any defending in my career, so I completely understand how difficult.
Okay. I always defend. You people like you stitching us up.
But he is the best left back, even though it's 2 games that he's played since Jose Enrique. Although when you think about it, how many left-footed left backs have we had since then? I mean, it's a short list, right? Paul Dummett, bless his heart, has been there for 105 years. And Jamal Lewis, obviously, it's not worked out well for him. Not that many. And the bar is pretty low on quality. So he is the best we've had. And I would love for him to stay. My concern is that because they didn't put in a fee agreement clause, that his fee is going to be going up every time he plays well. And not only that, but it's going to go up every time Luca Digne plays badly, which has been every time so far for Villa. He was horrible at the weekend. The way he stood off for that Watford goal, he stood off Ismail Assar, I think it was, for that cross, was really terrible defending. I mean, deep inside his own box, stood off the lad and let him cross it for the winner. So, every time Matt plays well and Luca Digne plays badly, his value is going to go up. And it's no slight on the owners that they didn't put in that agreement. It was a deadline day deal, so tremendous to get him done in the first place. But very excited to have a really good left back at Newcastle, first one for a long time. And actually, I was a bit critical of that deal at the time because I've always had a soft spot for Jamal Lewis, and I felt bad for him for being left out for the squad. But I take it all back. I clearly had not watched Matt Targett enough, which I fully admit I didn't watch a lot of Aston Villa left backs. But he is a much, much better player than Jamal Lewis, and by far the best left back we've had in a long time.
Just a quick one to jump in. Do we know the logistics of the finances involved with this deal if we can make it permanent? Has it been disclosed yet or not?
I've only heard from I think it was Chris Woff on The Athletic was asked in their most recent pod about an agreement, and his reporting was that there is no buy-on agreement set in stone yet. I'm sure he'd love to sign for us, but as far as I'm aware, there's nothing agreed, no option in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That is a bit poor, isn't it? But I suppose, as maybe Dai touched upon there, he might be, as good as he's been, he might be a bridging gap until we get to the summer, and hopefully we do stay up, and then maybe we're shopping in a different pond. And that's no disrespect to Targett, because I think he's been outstanding. The one thing that really gets me about him is his positional sense. I think I saw it almost from the off in the Everton game. There was a couple of chances where I think Everton tried to slip the ball down, and he was tackling with almost his wrong foot, and he was winning it, and he just seemed to read the game so well. I mean, obviously Mark, as we know, who runs a slide rule pass with me, is a huge Villa fan, so he was waxing lyrically about Matty Targett last season. Then when we got him, Mark was a bit gutted actually, because he knew what a good player he was, and he said, I'm sure you guys will love him if he puts in the shift. And I think that, as Dai rightly says, he just brings that composure, he brings that calmness, and I think with Trippier, when he's fit, Target and Burn, I think they've even helped the likes of Fabian Schär get back on form, the likes of Dubravka look a bit more confident, because when you've got those players in your side, especially in your defensive unit, it is going to make the team look a lot better, and that allows the midfield to play more. They're not coming back too much. So, I mean, the benefit of having players like Matty Target, just good, solid, professional players, I think, is going to help massively, isn't it, guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's very, very composed, which is a undervalued skill for a fullback. He's very composed on the ball, and he just looks in control of what he's doing, which is great.
Absolutely. And I'll also add the point you've made there about what he's done. I think Trippier's done that as well in terms of improving Schär and Dubravka around him. And I think when you look at how much better he's got with Trippier, Target and Burn all around him, I think that shows a lot about both him, the coaching that's going on, but also the quality that's gone in around him. So altogether, I think that's a really good point.
No, 100%, and I think that's exactly what we needed. We all knew we needed it, and these guys aren't, the stupid FIFA style transfers guys we're talking about, but they're just good, solid Premier League players. Obviously Trippier is world class, but, the other guys are just solid Premier League players, and they made us look so much better as well. So it's great to see. So moving on to the next section, and I'm going to jump straight into the Welsh Wizard on this one, because you know where we're going. We teased it on Twitter beforehand. So there was a story doing the rounds, which I know James has rolled his eyes at straight away, but weirdly enough, the source material for this story came from none other than Rivaldo, Barcelona's Rivaldo, who was asked about Gareth Bale. Weirdly enough, I don't know why. Maybe he does a bit of La Liga punditry or something, but he did say obviously Gareth is going to be a free transfer at the end of the season in the summer, and he said, maybe Newcastle United is a good destination for Gareth Bale. So I thought I need to put this in the podcast, especially having the completely impartial Dai on the show, who is going to give us
Bale's agent, is he, Chris? By the way, Ronaldo's not Bale's agent.
No, I think he's Bale's number one fan, is what he is, mate. So yeah, just before we get stuck into this, so I mean, I've got my opinion on it, but I'm going to let you guys take the lead first. There, Mark's done a great stat analysis of when Gareth came back on loan to Spurs, which I think is probably the most relevant bit of information to look at. So Dai, I'm going to kick off with you first, mate, and I'm just going to sit back and look at this love fest for Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale in a black and white shirt, mate. Is it everything you ever dreamed of?
Oh, mate, I don't. I'd be giddy. I'd be in tears, I think. And just to go, I'm not Gareth Bale's agent. In no world would I be sat here doing this with you lads if I was Gareth Bale. I'd be on a beach somewhere, COVID aside. I would have bought my own jet. I'd be gone playing golf somewhere with Gaz. No, I'm not going to say too much because I feel from James's reaction that I may need to defend my boys further down the road. But I'm not going to say too much in the first instance. Do you know what? I think if you have seen a lot of Gareth Bale in the last even 3 years, when he's definitely not been at his best anymore, you'd know that he still has a hell of a lot to offer. I think it's as simple as that. And I understand, rightly so, there are questions about his fitness, about his attitude in inverted commas, in terms of what his priorities in football are. And I just think if Gareth Bale went somewhere, obviously I'd love it to be Newcastle, but if Gareth Bale goes somewhere where he's played in a way that will get the best out of him and he's loved, he'll produce. There is a reason he plays so well for Wales, and in the last few years hasn't at Real Madrid. It's because I don't think he wants to be there. They don't want him there. The fans don't like him. He is an outstanding footballer. He is, I would say, in the at least top 5 footballers I've seen in my lifetime. Obviously, he's not 2016 Gareth Bale, where he can win matches on his own. But in terms of what he could bring to that squad, his mentality, his attitude, his will to win, absolutely everything. And from saying I'm not going to say too much, so I'll have to defend myself later. I've now waffled, but I will stop there. We've got to remember to have the option to sign someone who's won the Champions League 4 times. I just don't think that that's something we could pass up. Is my 10 pence worth. And I will shut up now and defend my boy in a moment.
Well, I'm going to have to bring James in there because his eyes rolled as soon as I mentioned it, James. So I think you're going to give us the yang to this yin balance, mate, aren't you? Potentially in a black and white shirt.
It's never going to happen. Simple as that. It will not happen. Look, let me just have a little bit on him. And look, Dai makes some excellent points there. The thing about Bale, the problem about Bale is his salary. And he'll be 33, I believe, in the summer. I think he's on about 500 grand a week at Real Madrid, and there's no way he's going to come to a team and want anything less than 350,000. Yes, he's never going to get 500,000, but you're still going to have to pay a fortune of a sum of money to land him, albeit you will get him on a free. I think he'll go back to Spurs, personally. If not Spurs, if Spurs don't have the money to it, if they can't afford him for whatever reason, then probably somewhere like maybe Qatar or maybe the MLS or somewhere like PSG. PSG could be a good option for him. He's not the player who was lighting up the Premier League at Spurs back in 2012, as Dai rightly said. I just can't see us going in for him. Another thing of him, he's not an Eddie Howe type of player. He doesn't have that right mentality, that work ethic anymore, as he used to get into a side that we're building a team around different players now. And someone like Gareth Bale isn't someone. I just can't see Eddie Howe sanctioning that transfer. And you look at the work rate of the squad right now, and again, I just don't think Bale is anywhere near that level. It would take him a season at least to get back to where he was 4 or 5 years ago. And I just think we're looking at different targets now, the likes of Hugo Ekitike, Sven Botman, Diego Carlos, even Jesse Lingard possibly, or someone like Alexander Isak. Those are the kinds of deals we should be looking to get done in the summer, not players like Gareth Bale.
So just before Dai goes nuclear, I'm going to bring Adam in to get his opinion on that, because I can just see him boiling there a little bit. Adam, where do you sit on this, mate, Bale? I mean, listen, as Dai makes a good point there, the guy's still got quality. There's no question about that. You know, I'll give my 10 pence as well when Dai calms down, potentially. But what's your take on Adam in terms of that? Would you say hell no like James, or would you take him on?
Well, I don't know if I would go as far as saying hell no, like James did, but I actually sort of agree with both of them, if that's possible. So I
sit on the fence there, Adam.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll be off the fence by the time I'm done. So here's the thing: I agree with James that he's not the profile of player that I think Newcastle were looking at. And without knowing the context of what Rivaldo said, my guess is his point was someone where money is not going to be the number one factor. That's someone that might need an immediate upgrade from a position they have now. And I just don't know that Newcastle are looking at that type of player. I don't think Newcastle in the next 3, 4, 5 years are going to be the type of team that does these kind of 1 and 2 year contracts, but sort of like the PSG model from last summer. And that's not anything to do with Gareth Bale. I think that goes broadly for anyone over 30 looking for 1 or a 2 year contract. I just don't think that's going to be the type of profile Newcastle are looking for. I don't think anyone doubts Gareth Bale's ability, whether it's the 2022 Gareth Bale or the 2018 or anywhere in between. That the lad's got a lot of ability and probably more to give, given the fact that he's played so little over the last few years. I just think from a profile standpoint, he's not going to be the kind of player Newcastle are looking for. And if he was, they could have done one of those deals in this transfer window. And the fact that they didn't, they signed these relatively boring Premier League experienced players, tells me that they're just looking for a different type of player in this upcoming summer window. I mean, if you look at Gareth Bale on a 2 year deal, say, even without a transfer fee, you're probably looking at paying him, I don't know, 20 or 25 million pounds over that period. I think Newcastle are going to want to spend that kind of money on someone 10 years younger than Gareth Bale.
It's a very interesting point, and I'm going to bring Dai back in before I finish up on my 10 pence, because he wants to stick up for his main man there, Dai. So do you think Adam makes some valid points there, mate? I think he was very quick to praise your man as well, mate. So don't attack him.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I do think that the boys both make valid points, and I do think there's validity in everything. A lot of the things you've said there, and I think the most pertinent thing is this is definitely he's asked. Rivaldo's asked a question. And he's just been forced to pull it out. I'm sure he's not mates with Gareth Bale and knows anything about it. I think to the money situation, I don't think the money is the thing. Gareth Bale is a very, very rich man. His priority at the moment is, I think, March the 24th, which is when Wales play Austria in the World Cup qualifier semi-final. And then if we win that, the final, because then what that means is he wants to lead Wales out at a World Cup. And I think if we got a Gareth Bale who is trying to keep himself in contention and keep himself fit enough to lead Wales at a World Cup, I think he would be worth whatever money we wanted to spend on him. I don't think the money would be the issue. I really think the talk of Qatar or MLS or China, as it was a few years ago, I don't think is valid anymore. I think he has mentioned a couple of times he wants to come back to the UK. He's got a massive house in Wales. He's built like 3 of the most famous holes of golf in his back garden, basically. He wants to come back to the UK, I think. And I think, so the money side of it wouldn't be an issue. I think he would basically play up front. I think play up front with someone. I think the work rate ethic is absolutely not true. I think if he was in a team, again, where he was loved, I think that's his environment. That's why he's so good for Wales. And I think if we provided that platform for him, the work rate wouldn't be a problem. The guy is absolutely fit to fit. It wouldn't take him a year to get back into full fitness. The big worry I would have, taking my rose-tinted glasses off, would be he does seem to always get knocks. And when you've been that explosive and faster player as he has been, the hamstrings are not what they used to be, and that would be my main concern money-wise. If we're going to spend that money, then I think that would be my issue. But I think the reality of the situation is it's not going to happen. I think if it comes up, I would definitely do it, not just because I would love it, but for reality purposes as well. But I think it would be a brilliant opportunity to have someone of world-class caliber at Newcastle United, and I don't think that's an opportunity that comes around very often. And I agree with Jan. I would love to see Kiefer. I mentioned him when we talked about transfers, actually. So I'd love Kiefer, although he has just broken his foot. So maybe it wasn't a good suggestion after all.
I had to leave that up just because he's got the best nickname ever. Kiefer Ballon. Was it Kiefer Moore Ballon d'Or? Sorry, was the best nickname I've ever heard in football. But yeah, just to throw my opinion on this, guys, and Mark has done a very interesting slide. So I'll bring that up just before we kind of jump in here. So I asked Mark to do the slide up of Gareth's time at Spurs when he was back on loan, and now. Obviously, I think that's a bit more pertinent because he's been in and out of Real Madrid. But you can see there, I mean, he did get some goals there. 34 games, 16 goals, 4 assists is pretty good. But one worrying statistic that Mark did put down there was he only had one full 90-minute game in those whole 34 games. That kind of plays, and I think what you both were saying there, Dai and James, with regards to how much you'd actually get out of him. But statistics-wise, he did start to really kind of come into his own at Spurs before the end of that loan. And I really think he started to show a little bit more, and he started to show a little bit of the evolved Gareth Bale, as Dai rightly says, the kind of upfront Gareth Bale. And when he was there with Son and Kane at one point, they looked absolutely tremendous. But I think, just giving my opinion on it, and it's an interesting one because Kieran Trippier is 31 years old, and he's come from Atletico Madrid, and his impact, not just as a footballer, but what he brings, his pedigree, his experience and everything else, has taken us up a level, and it's rubbed off on all of the players around them. And I think it's a valid point to maybe consider that Gareth Bale, even at 33, is still Gareth Bale. He's still an unbelievable footballer, the technique, and not just that, the way he looks after himself, how it would rub off on the other players as well. I think, you're right, it's probably a little bit fantasy football style, but I do think if he was to come on a free and he was willing to take a wage reduction, as you rightly say, James, he's never going to get 500 grand a week, and he's not going to get 300 odd grand a week as well, to be honest with you. But I think that he could still give you another season or two, and depending on what we're looking to do, I do think it's something maybe not to scoff at too much. But as you rightly say, lads, we might be looking at younger targets, to be fair. But I think it was a good debate to have, and I think Dai was a bit more important than I thought he was going to be there, mate. So well done.
Not a lot of you. You're all stupid. There you go.
well. Speaking of players that say "fuck you," let's move on to Brentford, as Ivan Toney loves to say "fuck Brentford." So we've got a Brentford preview, lads. So it's a nice little segue into that. So Brentford's our next game. I think, as you rightly said, James, starting with you on this one, but if we beat them, I think we climb above them. We're unbeaten in 6 now. We are a form team. We're a team people are worried about. How are you feeling going into Brentford, mate? Thomas Frank's trying to be a little bit mischievous and say that we'd rather be where they are, but I think he's a little bit worried, mate. Do you fancy our chances here?
There's only one winner on Saturday, and that's us. I'm very confident we'll win this one. Brentford are in full, right?
Sorry, mate.
Look, Brentford are in free fall right now. I don't think they've won in 7 games, I think and they've only picked up 1 point in that time. And look, that's relegation form. They are nowhere near the team they were that started the season, that were getting results against the likes of Arsenal. Look, we are one of the most informed teams in the league right now, and I can see this being fairly comfortable for us. I just can't see how you can make a case for Brentford winning this game right now. And I think even without Maximin or Manquillo, we're still going to face a late fitness test. I still think we'll win this. Yes, the likes of Tony, people are going to talk about him being in the narrative, coming to play against his former club. You look at Christian Eriksen, potentially might start that. I don't think that makes a blind bit of difference. They are woeful at the back. Southampton put, I think, 4 past them recently. Everton put 4 past them in the FA Cup. I mean, if you're Chris Wood, you're licking your lips at the prospect of coming up against this defence and hopefully scoring his first goal. And I don't think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think it will be one in midfield, of which we have the much better of the 2 teams. Again, I mentioned Eriksen before. I just can't see him getting anything out of Joelinton and Ivan Toney, who hasn't played in 3 or 4 games, who will be rusty also. So if he does come back in the team, he will be desperate to score, but I just can't see him getting anything out of Dan Burn. And I think if Willock kicks on and has another good game like he did against West Ham, he'll score again. And I say we win this game 2-0, Willock and Wood.
Oh, you changed your tune from last week, haven't you, mate? So, Joe Willock.
I'm fully on the Willock bandwagon now, lads.
Well on to it, Joe Willock.
fully paid up member of the fan club.
I never doubted him. Adam, just getting your take on that, mate. Are you as confident as James, mate? Do you think Brentford are there for the taking? And should they be worried about Eddie Howe's mags?
They absolutely should be worried, not just about us, but all the teams below them, because they've already played 2 more games than Newcastle. So if they lose to us this weekend and we still have 2 games in hand, they're going to be in a real tricky situation. I think they have a run right now of playing 3 of the bottom 4 in a row. And earlier this season, they had the same run, different order, but same 3 teams, and they only got 1 point from 9. So if they get 1 point from 9 out of this run, they're going to be in a really, really difficult situation. And frankly, they probably will be in the relegation zone if they get 1 from 9 of the games coming up. So it's going to get very, very tight down there. I think the most important thing about our form is not just the fact that we've got a 4-point buffer between us and the relegation zone, but because of the way other teams are playing, we've dragged Everton, Villa, Leeds, Brentford, maybe even Crystal Palace, the form they're on, and they've got us coming up as well. We've got a real controlling stake in the next couple of months as to who is below us come that run in at the end of the season. So I'm really confident. I think that the team is playing the best football. Obviously, it's played all season. We should have beaten Brentford when they came to St James's Park in the Tyndall game, the 3-3 game. We probably should have won that game. If we were playing that game this weekend, I'd feel like we were going to win that at St James's. In terms of the lineup and the team, I saw that both Fraser and Manquillo practiced today, so hopefully they're available. I think saint-maximin sounds like he's sort of a 50-50, but Jacob Murphy, I'm all in on the Jacob Murphy bandwagon too, having replaced him in the last game. So yeah, I see no reason why we can't win, and I think that if we do, or when we do, Brentford are in a really, really sticky point. Like James said, I think they've got 1 point out of their last 7. And this is their second long streak this season where they haven't picked up points. And if they go again 2 or 3 more games like that, then they're going to be in real trouble, no doubt.
Score prediction, Adam, just before I move to Dai?
They'll score. They may even take the lead, but it's not going to matter. We'll run out 2-1 or 3-1 winners.
Very good. I love the confidence brewing. Dai,
and I never
pragmatic.
I never back Newcastle to win, so that should tell you where we are.
I was going to say, mate, Eddie Howe's made a believer out of you as well. So, Dai, are you going to be pragmatic, mate, or are you going to take some of that ecstasy James is dishing around?
I think I'll go with James. I think
good luck.
I'm not quite a paid-up member of the Jacob Murphy fan club like the boys here, but I do think it's such a winnable game. It's such an important game, and we've shown the last few weeks we're really capable of doing this when it matters. They've won 1 game since December the 10th, which is a ridiculous statistic. They're shipping goals for fun. They're really not scoring very many goals. it's worth pointing out that the run that Adam's talking about, they did get 1 point in those 4 games. It was against Newcastle United, so worth remembering that, I suppose. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than the boys are saying. I think it's going to be a 1-0 game. I think we're going to shade it. And I say that because I don't think we've got many goals in us. I think if St. Max plays, that opens it up a little bit. But I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. I think we're going to nick it 1-0. And I think we'll do what we've been doing recently, which is kind of grinding things out and kind of getting results where we need them. So I don't think it'll be pretty. And I think their run, if you like, their misery run is going to keep going. I think that's going to drag them down. I said at the start of the season, for what it's worth, that with them, they were always going to have this bounce, if you like. Then they came into the league playing good football. All you need is a couple of results to knock that, and all of a sudden, it's very, very difficult to have that confidence and belief in yourself to play that way. For me, I think Brentford will go down this season. I think one of Burnley, Watford, Norwich, I think will sort themselves out of it, and I really don't see Brentford picking up too many more points. You know, it's like Adam said, this is their season basically. This 4-week run is their season, especially with games in hand around them. So I think they're going to struggle. I think this will really drag them into it, and I think we'll nick it 1-0.
That's a good shout, man. I'm exactly the same page as you guys. I'm confident for a win. I actually think we'll get a clean sheet against them because I don't think they've got much to offer at the minute. I think Tony's totally gone off the boil. If Eriksen comes on, obviously he'll get a massively warm ovation from the crowd, and rightly so, given everything that he's gone through. But I don't think that he'll be enough to create for them. He won't be enough to get them, put the chances away. I just think at the back we're looking so solid, even without Trippier, targets back now. I think Manquillo will play. I think he will pass a fitness test. He, as Adam says there, he was trading. So for me, I'm going to go for 2-0, and I'm going to back Big Dan Burn to volley Ivan Toney about 9 foot in the air as well, which would be absolutely superb to watch. And I'm sure Ivan Toney will be saying "fuck Newcastle" when he lands and hits the deck like a sack of shit. So that'll be absolutely fantastic. But that's all we've got time for in this week's episode.
Just a quick one, actually, lads. Sorry.
You always do that when I'm getting ready to exit.
Very quick one. I just want to ask the three of us, just briefly, when does Bruno get back into this team? Because I don't think he starts again against Brentford. When do you think he'll have his first start?
You can't break the 3 Js up, mate. The 3 Js are smashing it at the minute. You can't break them up. I think he'll come in when either Shelvey gets injured or suspended or something like that, or one of them get injured and suspended, really. I don't know about you guys. Dai, what do you think, mate?
I think I agree. I don't think you can break up a winning team. I think ultimately the run is going to come to an end. It would worry me slightly if the reason he takes it out is just because we lose. I think if anyone comes out of that lineup, it's John Joe. I think I think we will retain the ball better with Bruno there instead of John Joe. But I don't think you can take John Joe out at the minute. That dip is going to come. We've seen him play for long enough. We know that's going to happen. But what a good problem to have, that we've spent all this money on this player who's going to be hopefully a world-class player. He played in midfield for Brazil. And he can't displace John Joe Shelvey in centre midfield. Is a good problem to have. So I do think the way that Brentford play as well does mean that this will be a less of a physical type game. And I do see Bruno coming into this game more than for the last few minutes as he has been. But I agree. I don't think he starts. I think it'll take something different for him to get back in. But I do think once he does get in, I think he's in for the long haul.
I think you're right. Adam, what's your take on that, mate, just before we zip off?
Yeah, hard to disagree with any of that. It's a great problem to have that our brand new superstar signing can't get in the team. The 3 players that he would be picked in front of have all upped their game, which is exactly what you need. He'll get in the team when Eddie thinks he's going to be a better player than the 3 that are in there right now, whether that's in training, whether that's in the cameo performances. Like it or not, he's just going to have to be patient, and it is a great problem for us to have. So long may it continue. Sounds crazy to say, but long may it continue.
It doesn't, and he loves Bridges as well. If anyone didn't see his Instagram post, so it's good that he loves Bridges because he is here for the long haul. But that has definitely us wrapped up for this week's episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Remember to please like and subscribe. We're looking to smash that 200 barrier. We've got a long way to go yet, but obviously with you guys on board, it's much appreciated. And we'll be back next week with another Evermore episode. And until then, let's keep supporting that team we call United, and we'll catch you next week, guys. See you later.
So,
see you guys. Take care.